The Supper Club published its own guide to raising finance this year, called Way to Grow, which was based on interviews with 20 members of the Supper Club who had raised money. There are barriers for founders looking for funding and looking to take funding. A key one is a lack of awareness and a lack of understanding about the options available to them and how to use them as well. Today we're going to help about 50 of our members and other high growth entrepreneurs to learn a bit more about the funding landscape, the funding options available to them, and how they can use them to accelerate scale.
The most valuable lesson I've learned in raising finance over many years with lots of companies is that you have to find the right investor to match your long-term vision for the business. If that particular investor has a 5-year time horizon, what is going to happen in 5 years? Are you suddenly going to be forced to be sold to someone else? If you want to IPO your business, is that investor going to tell you you can't? So you really need to think about long-term what's right for you.
The main reason that I've decided to scale our business without giving away equity and taking finance for equity was mainly because I don't think we've generally had to along the way. We've been quite careful around getting ourselves into a cash generative business. So when we did actually come up to the acquisition side of things, and we bought DBD Media last year, we're going through an acquisition at the moment, we just came up with plans around how to buy them without having to give away equity, which was deferred consideration for the owners. We took some debt finance early on from banks, from private lenders and so on, and we've been paying that back month on month since. But I suppose the key was that once we brought together two businesses, we saw some serious cost savings, and again that has just allowed us to grow without necessarily having to give away any of our equity.
A common pitfall that founders have when they're looking at funding for acquisitions is they try and do too much themselves. So they get approached by a private equity house or other investor and negotiate a lot of the detailed terms before they get advisors in. Best approach is to get a lawyer or a good corporate finance advisor early on in the process, progress those discussions and try and involve another party so you have competitive tension. You have 2 or 3 different investors looking to agree the deal. That way you get the best terms.
We used VC funding as opposed to cash flow or debt because firstly our growth model was always based on a combination of acquisition and organic growth, the classic buy and build strategy, if you like. We've done 2 major institutional rounds. In 2009, we were barely profitable. We were buying businesses that amounted to more than our current sales, and we just did not have the cash flow that would allow us to buy the businesses that we had planned to buy. So we had the strategy, we didn't actually have the trading record to generate the cash flow to do it, and we would have had to wait years really before we were able to do those transactions. So there really wasn't another option, and because we weren't really profitable then, debt also was not an option. So VC was really the only route to go.
The what happens next in terms of any liquidity and a bit of a capital event that you do take money off the table at the point of completion can be put to one side and forgotten about. That would not be our advice. The best practice is to think ahead as much as you can do in order to have a plan in place so that when it comes to the check being received and a few more zeros being on your balance in your account, then you have a pretty firm idea, having spoken to advisors in advance, what you want to do with it. And actually that can influence the deal itself in terms of considering how much is enough. Is this the right time to exit? Is this the right type of exit?
I think what I learned and what really fascinated me is every business is different, and the way every business should raise their money depends on what they want out of the final goal. So Chris's business, for example, kept 100% of the equity, raised expensive debt, but at the end got a really favorable outcome from PE. Whereas on the other hand, in finnCap, they put in everything on the line, their houses and their mortgages, to buy out the company just because they wanted to believe in it so much, and they have as many shareholders as they have staff. So I think for me that gives me food for thought, because we are entering Series A, our first institution round after 4 million of angels. Which institution to go for? How do we structure it? How do we make sure we are getting people on board who are just as passionate as our amazing 55 angels have been? And this has been a great way to think that through.